Hey, classmates, this is Deanna.
Hey guys, this is Brett, and welcome back to Hard Lessons, True Crime, and Paranormal podcast. I almost forgot the name of our show.
Well, it's been forever.
Feels like it's been
It's like a month or more.
at least a month. Yeah, feels like it's been years.
So this is like starting all over, huh?
It is. Please don't leave us. We finally, I believe, hopefully y'all are hearing us. I think we finally got everything figured out. We will try it out. And if we have to re-record this episode, then we'll re-record this episode on a different platform. But I think we got it figured out.
Wow, I'm gonna say so.
The little counter is counting like it is working. So and it shows that we're getting a 99% rate on the volume on the mic. So
Well, that's cool.
heck yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's
Well,
get to it, man.
all right. You ready for the more you know?
Yes, I really am. I missed that
I'm
because
sure you.
the less I need in my brain.
I'm sure you have. New school year's coming up. You could wow your new students with all this useless information.
I could. Let's hope I can remember any of that.
All right. Well, today's The More You Know comes to us from the land of social media.
Whoa.
The population of China
Oh,
is 1.4 billion people.
wow.
The population of India is 1.3 billion people. So combined, that is 2.7 billion people.
Whoa.
Okay.
Huh?
So here comes the more you know part.
Oh, okay.
Facebook has more users in one day than those two countries combined. Facebook has 2.89 billion users in one day.
In one day?
In one day.
That's crazy.
Isn't it though?
That's a lot of people.
No wonder Mark Zuckerberg is crazy.
Rich?
Crazy rich, crazy, whichever you want to, Just,
I know, and how do you keep up with all that?
good question.
All right. I would have to say that is at the top of useless information.
You ready to jump in?
I am. Class is in session.
All right. So today we are talking about a unsolved case.
Okay.
It is the murder of Molly Bish.
Molly Bish.
Bish.
Okay.
Uh, Molly was born on August 2nd, 1983, and she passed away sometime around June 27th, 2000. She was just 16 years old.
Where's she from?
Warren, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Now, I first heard this case on one of our favorite podcasts, Morbid.
Uh-huh.
And Elena was doing it. And when Elena said she was from Warren, Massachusetts, Ash said, I got to stop you. Okay. Is it named after Ed and Lorraine Warren? And Elena, of course, looked at her and said, you're so cute. Said, what? They didn't know Ed and Lorraine Warren back in the 1600s when it was, oh, yeah. Okay. So.
It's a legitimate question.
Sure. Yeah.
Hmm?
So her parents are John Sr. and Maggie Bish.
Okay.
Her siblings are Heather and John Jr. Bish. So 3 kids in the family. John Sr. had spent years in law enforcement.
Oh my gosh.
And currently at the time was the chief probation officer of the county.
Oh my gosh.
Maggie was quoted as being an energetic elementary school teacher.
Whoa, elementary, yeah.
You got to be energetic.
Yes. They are a different breed altogether.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Teach, just for those that don't know, she was interviewed by one of the local elementary school principals. And she was like, I'll show up for the interview, but I don't want the job. And he was like, well, why not? I don't do boogers.
Well, there's more to it than that, but.
And truer statement has never been said.
You know, like it's good experience for interviews. Um, it's just there is an age thing there.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
the mama was an energetic elementary teacher.
Dad was in law enforcement, 3 kids, 2 girls, a son. Basically, really the all-American family.
That's what it sounds like.
And on June 27th, 2000, it started out as a normal, regular day. They all got up, talked, blah, 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 plans for the day.
During the week?
It was on a Tuesday.
A Tuesday.
Yes, ma'am.
And during the summer?
Yes, ma'am. So John Sr. leaves and goes off to work, and Heather and John Jr. take off to do whatever their plans were to do. Heather was the oldest, and she already had a child, so I'm sure she had things to do with her child.
So she was living at home with them? Okay. Oh, yeah, she was 6. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I had to backtrack because my brain was stuck on elementary. So I'm like, wait a second.
Right, yeah, their youngest, Molly, was 16.
Okay. Yeah, that makes way more sense.
Yes, ma'am. About 9:30, Maggie drives Molly to her job as a lifeguard at Commons Pond.
Oh my gosh.
So you think community swimming pool, but it's a pond, kind of in a forested area, a few miles outside of town. She had to be there early to get things set up because swim lessons were starting at 10 o'clock that morning. So she would arrive usually about 9:45, 9:50, and have time to get everything all set up. Now, the day before, on the 26th, Maggie sat and waited because when they got there, there was a man sitting in a white 4-door sedan with a mustache smoking a cigarette. And she said, call it mother's instinct, call it what you want. I wasn't leaving until he left. And so eventually he did drive off and leave. And then another lifeguard had showed up, and then that's when Maggie left. So on the 27th, there was nobody in the parking lot, and Maggie didn't think back to the day before with the mustached man in the white car.
She didn't. So I'm going to take it that she didn't let the owner or the manager know about this.
No, because it was an open pond, so like people would show it. It was like at a beach.
I understand.
People would show up to fish. They'd show up to swim. So she didn't.
Here we are. Well, then,
she didn't really think anything about it. And I'm sorry if you'll hear my chair squeak. I'm trying to get comfortable.
Okay, so the day before she saw this creepy man and she had that gut instinct of, I'm going to wait.
Exactly.
So somebody finally shows up and she leaves, but it didn't cross her mind for the next day.
Exactly. I mean, the car wasn't there. She didn't even think about it.
It's logical.
You're right. Now, Maggie did offer to stay until either another lifeguard showed up or some of the parents of the kids taking the swimming lessons. Molly said, I'm going to be fine. I've got to get out the first aid kit, the police radios. Police department had donated some of their old handheld radios for them in case, one's on one side of the pond, one's on the other. They could communicate back and forth. She said, I got to get all that set out and ready. So Maggie said, okay, well, I will see you after a while. Uh, Others would show up in about 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay, so this is around 9:45.
Right.
Drops her off. There's about 15 minutes total between being by herself and somebody showing up. And there's always early people like me. I mean, I would have been there at 9:45 waiting.
Exactly. Why aren't y'all here yet?
Yeah, like, like literally.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just before 10, some parents showed up, and Molly was not anywhere to be found. Her water bottle, her beach chair, her towel, her whistle, the radios that I had talked about, the first aid kit, and her sandals were all located. But there was not any Molly. And
so roughly 11 minutes. Within 11 minutes, she was gone.
yes, ma'am. What a good picture. That's Molly.
I can tell.
That's Molly.
Mm-hmm.
She was a star athlete at her high school. She was just about to start her senior year. Her favorite sport, I mean, she excelled at all of them, but her favorite was soccer. And she had planned on, I believe, being a coach, going to college and becoming a coach.
Huh.
Um, a search of the area started immediately.
So the parents that got there noticed that nobody was there, but the stuff was there. So they called right away? Or was there a time period that nothing happened?
A search of the area started immediately.
It's not. Okay. I apologize
No,
for asking the stupid question.
I didn't ever say it was a stupid
No,
question.
I'm not.
But it revealed nothing. Now, that's a good thing and a bad thing because since they did start the search immediately, police or the Bish family was not notified for 3 hours.
That's what I was thinking. Like somebody wasn't notified.
Exactly.
And of course, I'm like thinking, okay, somebody needs to be out in the pond hunting or and around. Like, why wouldn't you notify
Yeah,
the
they
parents?
were like, let's go look for Molly.
Okay.
And never thought about notifying them.
They probably wasn't worried. Maybe she was in the bathroom or, somewhere close by.
But
If
you'd
her
think,
students were there.
within 3 hours,
Yeah, I mean, within, 10 minutes, it would have been like,
once Maggie was notified, the only thing she could think about was the mustached man smoking a cigarette in his white car from the day before.
mm-hmm.
There was a witness that was just out walking the pond area that said before Maggie and Molly showed up, that white car, or a white car similar to what Maggie reported, was in the parking lot of the pond.
Okay.
But
So
it but
adult
it
was
left.
already there walking.
Yeah, it was already there walking the grounds.
Oh.
And if you go up the backside of the pond, there's a trail that leads to a cemetery. And one of the workers in the cemetery
Uh-huh.
said that there was a car matching the description parked behind the cemetery.
Okay, that's wow.
And of course, I mean, he didn't put two and two. He wasn't thinking, oh, that bet you that guy's gonna
Yeah,
kidnap somebody and do something evil.
yeah.
Um, so an extensive search would ensue, and it would at the time become the largest and most expensive in Massachusetts history.
Manhunt.
Mm-hmm. Molly would also be featured on shows such as Unsolved Mysteries, Disappeared, America's Most Wanted, and 48 Hours. But there were two other kidnappings and disappearances of women
At the same time?
during this time.
Oh.
Chandra Levy and Elizabeth Mart, and they got most of the national attention.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Sorry about that.
But they haven't found her yet. They're still hunting.
They're still hunting.
As of right now.
As of right now, where we're at.
In the story.
In the story. They're still hunting. They're still hunting. They're still looking. Land, air, and water searches continued. First person into the water, John Jr., Molly's brother. He had been a lifeguard there for 2 years. Molly was on day 8 of being a lifeguard at this pond. He had been a lifeguard there for 2 years and gave up his job this summer so his sister could be a lifeguard.
8 days on the job.
8 days on the job. So the first one into the water was John Jr., trying to find his sister.
Yeah.
The pond was also swept by the same sonar equipment that was used to look for John F. Kennedy Jr.'s airplane.
Oh.
So they went all out.
They did.
They weren't like half-assing it.
No, they actually were doing the best that they could with what they got.
Absolutely. Now, just a little bit of history of this land, where the pond is at. 200 years prior, General Henry Knox carted cannons to George Washington's army down a road that led to the pond.
Oh, cool.
In the early 1900s, it was a rock quarry that reached down 100 feet into the earth.
Like the pond is 100 feet deep?
Well, when they made it into a pond, they filled in with cement and stuff. But at one point in time, yes, it did go down 100 feet deep.
Whoa!
Could you imagine?
No,
That'd be like swimming at Lake Merida.
Nope, I'd be like, Bubba, I love you, but no.
I ain't lifeguarding there.
Nope. Jason probably lived in it.
Right. The day after Molly was reported missing, bloodhounds were brought in from New York. They followed the scent up into the woods behind the beach, so that path leading to the cemetery. The main path forks by a group of pine trees. One path circles back to the beach, and the other path goes up to the cemetery. And the scent led investigators to the cemetery.
Like that guy.
Like that worker. Exactly. Yes, ma'am. Now, John Sr., the dad, told you he spent his entire career as a cop.
Yeah.
So for the next 2 years, he would at least twice a week drive to that cemetery, park back behind where that guy said he had seen the other guy park, get out and walk down to the pond, wait a little bit, turn around and walk back. Now,
was he trying to something that trigger his mind, like, hey, that wasn't there the other day?
Seeing how long it would take him. Remember, she was there probably 15 minutes before anybody else showed up. And he realized that all that man needed was 8 minutes. Oh. That was it, just 8 minutes.
Oh, wow. What would even be worse is parking there every day, and she was literally 10, 15 feet from a car, buried, something.
Pretty smart.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
In the late fall of 2002, a man was out hunting. Now, this man's not from this area, so his name's never given.
Okay.
He was out hunting in those same woods, an area that is called Whiskey Hill. It's closer to a town called Palmer, Massachusetts. But from the way I understand it, it's like going from here to Skellytown or Lee Force, about 10 miles away. They're
Oh, okay.
areas that are close together. Um, as he's out hunting, he sees a blue piece of material just lying on the floor.
Do you know how creepy that would absolutely be? Like, you're not supposed to see nothing but dead trees and leaves and animals, and
Mm-hmm.
you look around and you see something blue that is so abnormal, like panic.
And of course, he wasn't thinking swimsuit or anything like that. He thought maybe another hunter wearing a blue coat got it caught on some tree limbs or something and it ripped off.
Yeah.
So he left it and went on about his business.
Oh.
So this is in late fall of 2002. So 2 years after Molly has disappeared.
Oh no.
The following May, he is visiting a friend of his that does live in Warren.
Uh-huh.
Friend's name is Tom Mick. Come on, Massachusetts. Why y'all got to do this? Tom. Nope, it isn't. It's Tim. Tim. Tom McGuigan. Guigan. Guigan.
Tim.
Tim McGuigan.
Okay. So it's Tim and not Tom.
It's Tim. Yeah.
Tim McGuin. I'm so sorry.
Come on, Massachusetts.
McGuian.
We're just going to call him Tim.
Okay.
So the hunter goes and visits his friend Tim, who lives in Warren.
Okay.
Tells him the story about finding that blue piece of material. Asks him, hey, how'd the hunting trip go? And he goes, I saw a blue piece of material. I think it was a coat. Where'd you see it at? Up in Whiskey Hill. Tim, being from
There.
Warren,
Yeah.
is like, that could be something to do with Molly. Of course, the friend's like, Molly who? He didn't know anything about it. He didn't live
He
there.
wasn't there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So,
Like, friends should have been like, hey, you're going to be out and about. If you see
just in
anything
case.
weird.
Exactly. So Tim calls the police and tells them what his friend told him. An intense search began. And when I say intense, this was in mid-May of 2003. When I say intense, there was over 200 people, and they were doing what's called a shoulder-to-shoulder search.
Walking those land.
Just, yes, straight down. We used to call it a strip search. You walk down one way, you turn around, you come back the other way, just stripping the land off, looking. Mm-hmm. So this was in mid-May. On June 3rd, 2003. It's 3 years, almost.
3 years.
Skeletal remains were found.
In that area where that hunter was?
In an area just 5 miles from the Bish home.
That was on purpose.
5 miles away.
That creep did that on purpose. He could probably see the house from her grave.
Yeah.
And he went back and visited.
I'm sure of it. Now, not all of Molly was found. They found 26 of her 206 bones, but they did find enough that they were able to send her off. And on June 9th, 2003, they got positive identification that those remains belonged to Molly Bish.
5 miles. The torture that killer put on that family.
Oh,
5 miles.
I didn't add it to my notes, but there was quotes from her sister Heather saying, I don't think any of us have ever been able to sleep at night again consistently.
Knowing just right there.
Just right there. Yeah. And how many times did they?
How far away was that from the pond?
Maybe less than a mile. A little over a mile. I mean, it was just up into the woods. back behind it.
So he gets her, throws her in the car, and takes her off. And
Does
5 miles later, I mean, just boom. Gosh, that's sick.
now with it just being skeletal remains, they were unable to determine
Wow.
the cause of death, but it was listed as homicide.
Well, yeah. There probably wasn't really enough, like, the head,
Right.
or really can't tell anything because it's mainly they can tell by the flesh what happened.
Molly was buried on August 2nd, 2003. What would have been her 20th birthday.
It's just terrible.
The Bish family was discouraged from cremating Molly's remains in case they need to disinter her for more forensic examinations as science evolves.
Like what? I would need details. Like what? What are you going to do with the bone?
Get some DNA. Maybe they can scrape the bones, find DNA maybe of the killer on it. I don't know.
Like, shouldn't you have already done that?
Well, as the science.
No, I totally understand. But as a mama, that's all that's left of your baby. I don't know that I would be able to.
To hold on to that.
I don't know that I would be able to handle any of that.
Well,
Knowing 5 miles away, my baby was right there. My baby was right there.
so let me prepare you for this next part. It's heart tugging, the burial of Molly. Her remaining bones were placed in a baby casket, and then that was set in a larger casket that was filled with letters from her friends, other important mementos, and her prom dress. Remember, it was about to be her senior year of high school.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the potential suspects. In 2005, a Connecticut man was charged with attempted kidnapping in New York and was briefly looked at as a suspect, but he was cleared by alibis and fingerprints. In 2009, in 2009, a new suspect was looked into, Rodney Stanger.
He's Stanger.
Rodney was in prison in Florida for murdering Crystal Morrison, his girlfriend.
Hmm.
Uh, Morrison's sister alerted Massachusetts authority after his arrest for Crystal's murder. He lived in Southbridge, Massachusetts for more than 20 years, and it is less than 10 miles from Warren. Stanger had a car similar to the one that was described. He loved fishing at the pond. It was called Commons Pond. He loved fishing there.
Did he have a mustache back then?
He hunted the woods in Whiskey Hill, so he
Yeah.
knew the area.
He knew the area quite well.
Less than a year after Molly's body was discovered, Stanger moved to Florida.
How
He
close was he living before they found it?
he lived in a town less than 5 miles
5 miles.
away.
Okay.
Yeah, he was known to smoke cigarettes, and After the sketch came out, and I'm about to show you a picture of the sketch, he shaved his mustache that he had worn for years.
Order two.
So give me just a second, and I will pull up a picture of the
Suspect?
This is the sketch. That's the man, the mustache man, smoking a cigarette in the car that Maggie had seen the day before.
Okay.
And classmates, all these photos will be posted on our Instagram and our Facebook page. That is the drawing of him. I'm a stink. I wouldn't have button I wanted to push.
You know, I bought you a mouse.
It's charging. That is nope. That is Rodney Stanger.
After cutting his mustache.
After shaving. Yeah, this is when he was
very,
arrested.
very, very similar.
This is when he was arrested in Florida for murdering his girlfriend.
Wow. But
he was never charged. It was all circumstantial evidence. They couldn't find anything concrete.
Kelly Siegler.
I can't wait for her to come back.
Oh.
In November of 2011, Gerald, thanks Boston, Battistoni, 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 was also named a suspect by a private investigator that was hired by the Bish family, Dan Malley. Dan Malley's the investigator.
Yeah.
Battistoni had spent much of the 90s in prison for repeatedly raping a teenage girl. So they couldn't tell if Molly had been raped, but
more than likely it was.
Why else would she be taken? Right?
Yeah. So he continually raped that one girl?
Mm-hmm.
Like, somebody was dropping the ball on that.
After hearing that he was a suspect in Molly's case, he attempted suicide. That's kind of a red flag.
That is a huge red flag. If you didn't have nothing to do with it, there's no reason to go down that road.
Exactly. Battistoni had a criminal record that went back to the 1980s, and he also resembled the sketch and had been in the area when Molly disappeared.
Holy cow.
Sorry.
So two men that were in that area and look like the sketch.
Yes, ma'am.
And yet, nothing.
Not yet.
Okay.
And here is Battistoni.
When he was in prison, apparently.
Yes. Or arrested for something. Now, Private Detective Malley and the Bish family asked Massachusetts authorities for a DNA test. So the Massachusetts State Police sent DNA from him and evidence that they found on the burial site.
Okay. Maybe there was a cigarette?
To the great state of Texas.
Sure as hope.
It was no match.
Oh.
Battistoni died at Lemuel Shattuck Hospital in Jamaica Plain, which is a Boston neighborhood, in November of 2014.
Well, but he was cleared by DNA, so.
So he's not it.
So
we can get rid of him. Bye-bye. You know what I ought to do? Pull up this next one and just not pull up the image yet.
Smart.
You know.
So we're back to that first dude.
So right now it's looking good for the Yeah, Stanger.
Yep.
Joseph Early, who is the current Worcester County District Attorney, announced in June of 2021 a new person of interest, Francis P. Sumner Jr.
Francis P. Sumner Jr.
He is a registered sex offender with a more than 20-page criminal history.
Whoa.
He's looking pretty good for it. DA Early would not go into how Sumner was connected to the case, but investigators received new information that led directly to him. Now
So he wasn't investigated in the very beginning. His name wasn't even brought up. I don't understand why not. I thought the thing was like, well, we need to go talk to him.
Here is Francis.
Ew.
Nope. Okay, that's Battistoni. I had him out of order. So that's the guy we just talked about.
Okay.
And then that other one. There we go. Here we go. So that's Battistoni. That's Stanger. And that is
Francis.
that's Francis.
Okay.
Okay, so I still say him. But in July, on July 9th, 1982, Sumner was convicted of aggravated rape and aggravated kidnapping and sentenced to 15 years in prison.
So he was gone.
Earliest he could be released would be in 1997. She disappeared in 2000.
Okay.
So, uh, so he could have been out. However, uh, on May 4th of 2016, Francis, was found dead inside his home. So they can't prosecute him if they do.
But they got some DNA.
They've got something. The DA isn't saying what. He said that we got some information that led us to him. So, I mean, even though he's dead, they could still get answers for the Bish family.
Exactly. They're not going to know all the details, and parents don't want
All
details. They don't need to know any of that, but they need to know that the evil that committed this is gone.
Yeah. The Bish family has obviously been devastated by this over the years. But a couple of good things that have come from this. John and Maggie started the Molly Bish Foundation to help raise awareness for child and safety abductions. And then her sister, Heather, has started the Molly Bish Center for the Protection of Children and Elderly at Anna Maria College.
I don't understand what that is. Is like they can go there and it's like an activity.
They help them get like fingerprinted. So like if they are abducted, they've got them on file.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
Gives them maybe like some hand to hand, like somebody comes after you, like we used to tell Sam all the time. Somebody comes after you and tries to grab you, you take one of your crutches and you start wailing on them.
Yeah, some self-defense.
Self-defense, yes, ma'am. Maggie has never been able to put a headstone on Molly's grave because, in her words, that would make it too official. So Molly is laid to rest in an unmarked grave at St. Paul's Cemetery in Warren, Massachusetts. And I thought I would end this with a quote from Molly.
Are you serious? Nothing's been found?
2021 was the last update on Francis.
Mm-hmm. So another family probably never knowing.
Quote from Molly from the last yearbook she received from her high school. I love life. I really do. And that is the case of the murder of Molly Bish. My bibliography this week uh, is an article on wikipedia.com called The Killing of Molly Bish. Um, I got information from mollybishfoundation.com, from warren-ma.gov, the city of Warren's, Massachusetts website. They have a section dedicated to Molly Bish. The newspaper in Warren, Massachusetts, registerguard.com. Molly Bish case still unsolved after 20 years. Another, I'm not sure if this is a television station or like a radio station or newspaper, but masslive.com. Molly Bish murder case. Seeing photos of new suspect Francis Sumner Jr. is jarring, sister says. And then findagrave.com, Molly and Bish. And that is the case of Molly Bish. Do you need a police story from me? A little calmer downer?
Sure.
So I know you know this, but I talked to a celebrity on the phone one time before he was a celebrity when I was a cop.
No way.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
In Pampa.
It was yes, in Pampa. Well, I was in Pampa.
Well, yeah, yes, that's talked to this
Celebrity.
Celebrity.
Pre-celebrity. That's a good way to put it. It was actually about this time of year, towards the end of summer.
Okay.
I was working patrol on the evening shift, and we were in a class. I don't remember the class, but it was very boring, and it was up at City Hall.
Yeah.
And in the city commission chambers.
Okay.
Up on third floor. And so the call came in as a suspicious phone call at Brahms. For those of y'all that aren't local, it's a kind of a fast food place where you can also buy, it has a little grocery store connected to it.
Has amazing ice cream.
Has very good ice cream. We may have to go get some.
I thought they were closed for remodeling.
Oh, poop. Okay, so no ice cream. Oh, I got ice cream. Anyway, so back to the story. So I begged the sergeant. It wasn't on my beat. I was working another area, but I begged. I was like, dude, I'm about to go to sleep. Please let me go. Okay, you go take this call. So I get there and I meet with the manager, and she says, come back here. So we get to the back, and she said, this guy keeps calling. I don't know who he is, but he keeps saying that he's a bounty hunter, and he has been tracing this guy, and he has information that he is at our store. And so I'm like, okay, bounty hunter, wow, ooh. Writing down information, and while I'm doing that, the phone rings. So the manager answers, Brahms Ice Cream and Dairy Store, how could I help you? And then she puts her hand over the phone and says, it's him. I said, well, talk to him. So she hands me the phone, says, Officer Watson, the Pampa Police Department, how can I help you? Oh, thank God, Officer Watson. I am a bounty hunter. I'm in Honolulu. First clue. I've been tracking this man all over the United States. I just got information that he is there in Pampa at that Brahms. And so this was like 3:15, 3:30 in the afternoon. And I told him, I was like, well, sir, unless your tracking is about 75, 80 years old, wearing brown plaid shorts and a Hawaii print shirt, sandals with black socks, he's not in here. No, that doesn't sound like him. He's like, I used to live in Pampa. I'm like, did you really?
didn't know that.
Hmm. Yeah, he actually went to prison for a murder that happened here. That he was the driver for the getaway.
So did he go to school here or did he graduate?
No, he went to school here. He moved here after, like when he was like in his early 20s.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So anyway, he said, "Well, do you have TV?" I was like, "Yeah."
No, sir.
Yeah,
We don't
no,
have TV.
we're more. No, we don't have TV. And he said, he was like, "Well, I got a show coming on this fall called Dog the Bounty Hunter. It's going to be on A&E. You need to watch it." Like, yeah, okay, thank you, sir. So I talked to Dog the Bounty Hunter before he was Dog the Bounty Hunter.
So he didn't give you a name or anything?
He just said they call me Dog.
Not his.
Oh, the guy who was looking for it? No, he didn't. He didn't.
So he actually had gone to prison for murder?
Mm-hmm. Accessory.
Accessory, because he was the drive away.
Yeah.
And didn't his son have issues too?
Probably.
I think so. But anyway, that's not our business, really.
So, Teach, I know this was a dark case and a hard one to listen to. What was my score?
I would give you an A. Never A pluses though, apparently, huh? I'm a hard grader.
Hey, Aliqua. By the way, happy birthday, Aliqua. Was the substitute. Substitutes always go easier.
This is true. I need to remember that.
Yeah. So I will gladly take that A. So what will I be reporting on next week?
Next week, it is historical crime.
Oh, all right, classmates.
Maybe
So
you could find like gangsters.
some kind of gangster something.
Yes.
Awesome.
That would be historical, right?
It would be. Now remember, classmates, we had done this 12-week trial period, our 12-episode trial period of doing nothing but true crime. Next week, with doing the historical crime, will be our last one in that just doing true crime. So starting the week after, it'll go back to either having true crime, paranormal, or host choice. So we will talk to y'all then. Hopefully, y'all will get to hear this episode.
Well, I'm
And
going to be positive about it. You need to speak more positivity over things.
by gosh, y'all are going to hear this episode. And
that was a smart butt reply.
Not from me.
Hmm.
And we will see you guys next week. Have a great week.
All right. Class is dismissed.